A bomb just went off in the World Trade Center. It's unbelievable.
It was the sound of the first plane slamming into the North Tower that jolted then NYU student Caroline Dries and her roommate from their sleep. Caroline grabbed her video camera and started rolling.
It looked like an airplane crashed into the building. Thank God it wasn't terrorists, though.
We were kids. Like, we were so vulnerable and so naive.
Dad, what is that falling? Is that a person?
Where?
Oh my God, falling.
My reaction was that there's no way people are going to be jumping to their death. I just couldn't, like, go there.
There's another one. I'm taking a look.
Oh my God! Oh, jeez! Oh my God!
We're able to reconstruct it all moment by terrifying moment.
Chicago has one of the longest histories of gang violence. It's basically the place that invented gangs. It's the most segregated city in America. It's a perfect breeding ground for like anger, resentment, and violence, and the type of awesome music that comes from such an environment.
What you're seeing, what you're witnessing is like someone trying to break out of a cage almost.
Yeah.
But there's like a lot going on here, and it's only happening here. You know, you could only really get a Chief Keef from Chicago.
58,000 Americans were killed in the Vietnam War. In 2018 alone, over 67,000 were killed by drug overdoses. In 2017, it was over 70,000. In 2016, over 63,000. The war on drugs is a Vietnam War every year. Most of these staggering numbers have been driven by what's become known as the North American opioid crisis.
Narrowed it down to literally 2 overdoses a month. And the rate I'm going, I may not see 32.
But how did we get here? How did a toxic mix of the war on drugs and a profit-driven medical system get us to a place where overdoses now kill more Americans than gunshots or road accidents?
Who is among those who were shot and killed in a gun battle in downtown Atlanta, with 3 others dead and
the risk for all of us of becoming infected will be increasing.
I also directed the Department of Health to declare a public health emergency.
There is no doubt that there will be more cases where we find people who test positive.
The novel coronavirus outbreak spreading across the world, now hitting the United States from coast to coast.
The U.S.'s longest war is over. The Pentagon says the last American troops have been flown out of Afghanistan after a 20-year mission. The departure follows 2 weeks of chaotic and desperate scenes in and around Kabul airport as thousands of foreign nationals and Afghan citizens tried to flee. The Taliban have now proclaimed Afghanistan's full independence.
We're on a routine patrol with the Afghan National Police in Wardak province. They say that they're very limited in terms of the equipment that they have, and in fact, over the past couple of months, they've lost around 20 men carrying out these operations. This area is controlled by the government, but further on is Taliban territory. And it's these guys that come out every day to look for and then defuse IEDs that are being planted by the Taliban on the road or in civilian areas.
کمک میکردن زمانی که از ولایت‌ها جمع شدن در مرکز و قدم تیم انجینری خودم قماندانی هست، یعنی اگر وقت امکانش بود کمک میکردن، ولی مشکلاتی یعنی از تیم انجینری یا وسایل مشکل یا برای ماست. وسایل خمسا کردن من هم بسیار با کمبودی از اون مواجه هستیم.
Do you wish that the Americans had stayed?
بودنشان خوب است چون نظر به وسایل پیشرفته نداریم. اینمی یک چیزی است که آن شما با چشم و سر مشاهده میکنین که چیزی نتیجه هم نمیده. زیاد دوستای میاره، زیاد نیروهای امنیتی ما را به شهادت رسانده، فقط ما نیست.
What's the answer? Who do you hold responsible?
کسی که امکاناتش داره، یعنی دوستای امریکایی، باید در اختیار حکومت افغانستان چیزی که معثر است.
The United States military has begun strikes against al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
20 years ago, the US, with the help of its allies, invaded Afghanistan and removed the Taliban regime. The conflict spanned 4 US presidencies, cost nearly $2 trillion and left over 110,000 Afghan police, military and civilians, as well as 2,300 US soldiers dead. Last year's deal between the Taliban and the Trump administration required a full withdrawal of US forces.
We have a residual effect with many having survived 30, 40, 50 years, and along came fentanyl, which is a synthetic that it's 100 times more potent. And once that was added to the heroin supply, then what we previously saw as a very stable group of patients, all of a sudden we started getting a rash of overdoses beginning about 3 or 4 years ago.
On Instagram appears to show what happened. You can see people scattering last night as shots were fired after the fight outside of the business went out into the street. Responding officers returning fire while trying to intervene in that fight. 11 Live's Natasha Givens has the latest.
Well, Ukrainian forces are on a roll. Russia's front line quite literally crumbling.
The COVID-19 pandemic has shaken our economies and societies to the core and shown us how vulnerable we are to biological threats. In the digital world, similar risks are being overlooked right now. A cyber attack with COVID-like characteristics would spread faster and further than any biological virus. Its reproductive rate would be around 10 times greater than what we've experienced with the coronavirus. Fortunately, at least until now, cyber attacks have not impacted our health the way pandemics have, but the economic damages, and therefore the impact they have had on our daily lives, have been equal and sometimes even greater. You see, the only way to stop the exponential propagation of a COVID-like cyber threat is to fully disconnect the millions of vulnerable devices from one another and from the internet. All of this in a matter of days. A single day without the internet would cost our economies more than $50 billion US, and that's before considering the economic and societal damages should these devices be linked to essential services such as transport or healthcare. As the digital realm increasingly merges with our physical world, the ripple effects of cyber attacks on our safety just keep on expanding at a faster pace than what we're preparing for. COVID-19 was known as an anticipated risk. So is the digital equivalent. Let's be better prepared for that one. The time is now.
One of the toughest years we've ever faced as a nation. And the pandemic, the economic crisis, calls for racial justice, historic and punishing wildfires and storms. So this season of reflection carries a much deeper meaning than it usually does. Over 320,000 lives lost to this virus. And Jill and I send our prayers, as I'm sure all of you do, to all who are facing this dark winter with an empty seat at the dinner table where a loved one used to sit and talk and laugh and reminisce. Our hearts go out to all of you who have fallen on hard times, through no fault of your own, I might add. Unable to sleep at night, weighed down with the worry of what tomorrow will bring for you and for your family.
Who is Hypnos? The Greek god of sleep is Hypnos, whose mission is to help people sleep soundly. His twin brother Thanatos is the god of a peaceful death. Together, they were able to help humans avoid suffering.